Gallagher Show.
Alexander Hamilton had undue influence on George Washington. Literally, he was with George Washington all the time, telling him ideas about policy in the Treasury.
Hamilton.
But there have been people next to people of the presidents forever. Who's gotten us to the moon? Who's gotten us into space? He's gotten us to space.
It wasn't us.
We went to space long. No, what citizen? That's the government. Excuse me, that's the government.
In the ReliefFactor.com studios, here's Mike.
Now, I know we've been singing the praises of Scott Jennings over at CNN, the lone conservative common sense voice over there. He's not the only one. And Scott, guest hosted for me, which was pretty neat. I got to find out if we can afford our next guest, who is absolutely killing it on CNN. I brought Arthur Aidala, our legal eagle, back because first of all, it's been too long. Second of all, I want to ask him about the storming of Trump Tower and what the legal ramifications of all that are. But, Counselor, can I just tell you how proud I am of seeing those clips on CNN and you going into the lion's den and holding your own? What the heck? I mean, congratulations.
Well, first and foremost, for those watching us on video, I apologize I don't have a tie on, Mike. It was Father's morning here with my little guy, so don't be mad at me. Usually when you walk into a room, Mike, I stand up like a judge.
Yeah, sure you do. Yeah, sure you do. First of all, says the guy, I'm going to respond as the guy who never wears a tie. Don't give them any ideas. If Carrie Pahagian hears that, they're going to make me wear a tie. Chris DeGaulle, my predecessor on this network, looks like he just walked out of GQ with his pocket squares and his. But no, we're kind of casual around here. We got our coat on, but you're wearing a tie on CNN and you're killing it over there, Arthur.
Well, look. For me personally, I'm not a label guy. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a liberal. And I will tell you what Abby Phillip, who's the host of that show, what she has told me more than once now is she goes, "You're very measured." And, I don't, meaning, I guess, I'm not yelling and screaming, but I just look at it, I just look at it from a New Yorker's point of view. I acknowledge that I am not the typical American. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and there's a big difference between Brooklyn, New York, and Scottsdale, Arizona. I learned that when I went to Scottsdale, Arizona. But there's certain things that are said on CNN and other places, by the way, that I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense to me, and I just speak my mind. And what happened yesterday, you were talking about what happened here in New York City. You want to talk about what doesn't make sense. I was very busy yesterday. I heard about the protests in Trump Tower, and it upset me for a lot of reasons. There were so many tourists. By the way, New York City, it's amazing. Like, as soon as the weather broke 50 degrees, the tourism just swelled. My office is right there, not far at all. And so I was like, oh, this is a bummer. And when I found out it's a Jewish group that was protesting, I'm flabbergasted by that, and it's born out of ignorance. It's subjectively speaking, September 11th was a horrible day for me. I lost one of my closest and dearest friends. I know other people who lost people there, so I have to be subjective. But objectively speaking, what happened on October 7th, it was almost like the difference between September 11th was kind of like World War II and dropping the bomb and people died. Right. Whereas October 7th was like the Civil War. It was hand-to-hand combat. These pieces of garbage went into people's homes on October 7th and pulled babies out of fathers' arms and took them away, Mike. I have a daughter who's that age too. She was 2 years old on October 7th, and I heard this story recounted of the Hamas going into some guy's house and pulling his kid out of his arms and taking her away. I mean, I can't think of something worse right now in my life. And so then to go in and make these protests, they're just ignorant. They're really ignorant people. It's like the people who protested, defunding the police. That's because they're too young to have been here before Rudy Giuliani came in and cleaned up New York City. But hats off to the NYPD and to the chief of department, John Chell, who I spoke with right before I came on your show just to get some feedback from him. basically within 2 hours, I think he told me there were 98 arrests. And they don't put handcuffs on them; they put those like plastic zip ties on them
Zip ties,
because
yeah.
they were trespassing. And President Trump was happy that his building didn't get beat up. But look, you have a right to protest. That's why this country is so great. But if you want to be an idiot and protest about stupid things, you're allowed to do that as well.
A lot of people don't understand that this was ostensibly a Jewish group, which is so bizarre. So you got signs that they all look like they were manufactured in a factory. These signs, these aren't exactly like sandwich boards that people write on. This looks very orchestrated, very well organized. One sign says Jews say do not comply. And then the other sign says, free Mahmoud Khalil, the anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish protester. It is bizarre. I mean, look, it is New York, and crazy things can happen there. To your point about the average New Yorker, my Denise used to say, a New Yorker might curse you out and take your head off, but they'll give you the shirt off their back. And she's so right about that. Denise had such a great ability to kind of capture the essence of somebody's personality. And New Yorkers do not hold back, sharp-elbowed. Donald Trump comes to mind, but have hearts as big as the Empire State Building. Incidentally, a follow-up to what you said about October 7th, Hamas has agreed, as I'm sure you've heard, to release this 21-year-old Israeli-American, Edon Alexander. He's the last living American hostage, and Hamas has agreed, according to a deal, according to reports, they're going to release him. Now, there's also 4 dead Americans who are going to be returned. Their bodies will be returned. But Arthur, make no mistake, there's a new sheriff in town with Donald Trump. Israel loves this guy. The state of Israel has been treated horribly by previous Democrat administrations, and I hope that Hamas realizes they better not futz around, or they're going to find out.
Yeah, and I don't want to overemphasize what you said. There's a new sheriff in town. Crime has gone down a lot in January and February in the city of New York. A lot.
Really?
And
really?
To say that, oh yeah, it's gone down a lot. Like I don't want to throw out a wrong percentage, but a lot. I mean, they've written now editorials about it. It's in today's New York Times how much crime on the subway has gone down and ridership has gone up. And I don't want to give too much credit to President Trump because let's face it, he's in Washington, kind of running the world. But I think there's been like a change of feeling, a vibe that we're going to be a little bit more of a law and order society. We're going to pay attention to the law. If you jump the turnstile, it's going to be taken a little bit more seriously. I think the migrants who are right down the block from my office in Manhattan at the Roosevelt Center, they're like, okay, maybe we better chill out because this is a heavy-handed administration. So you look at the NYPD, working with the feds, and we're heading in the right direction. I'm not going to lie, being measured, my children's college fund hasn't headed in the right direction in the last 2 weeks. But I'm hanging on.
Don't look at it.
What goes down must come up, right, Mike?
Yeah, that's right. Do not look at the stock market right now. Don't do it. It'll give you agita. Arthur's show is the Arthur Aidala Power Hour. You can hear him weeknights on AM 970 The Answer, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern. Get the app. Download the app, am970theanswer.com. Anecdotally, Arthur, I was in New York for about 10 days last week and a half or so. You're right. It's different. It's real different. I stay often in Midtown, right by that Row NYC hotel that has been a migrant shelter. Way down. I mean, it was common 6 months, a year ago to see hundreds and hundreds of Hispanic people on the street on 8th Avenue, kids at 1 in the morning on scooters. It's different, Arthur. And the homeless people who, frankly, look, I've we've dealt with homeless people as New Yorkers for forever. For years, I'm not trying to sound like Mother Teresa, but I've carried a wad of singles in my wallet, and I always try to give $1 or $2 to homeless people that I've seen over the years, just because I just want to do that. Now, in the last year, they've been aggressive. They jump in your face. They want to hit you. They want to chase you down. Even that seemed different, Arthur, when I was there last week. There does seem to be a very different vibe, a very different atmosphere in New York City. And look, let's give credit where credit is due. You talk about calling balls and strikes being down the middle. Credit's got to go to Eric Adams and even Kathy Hochul to some degree, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely Eric Adams. And as a matter of fact, a week ago today, the Daily News, I think they held their nose and they wrote an editorial saying exactly what you just said. Credit must be given. I mean, they're not big Eric Adams fans, but they're like, and you know, it's also the rats. You know, I know that sounds silly to people who are listening to a national audience, but when you come out of your office at midnight and 1 in the morning, as I often do, and you know, I'm looking to my left and my right, we're thinking whether I'm going to get jumped, and I got rats running across my feet. You know, that's not a good time. They put in new garbage pails for all these restaurants. That now all that food has to be in a locked garbage pail, and that was all the food source for the rats. And again, some of your national audience may be thinking, why is this guy talking about rats? Trust me, it's not very pleasant to have a 7-inch, 8-inch rat running across your feet while you're getting out of the office. So definitely New York is turning around. Look, if you look at even when Rudy Giuliani was in office and he came in and things really were on the uptick, it was simultaneous to Bill Clinton being president of the United States. And that 1-2 punch, because don't forget, the tech stocks took off. Money started flowing around the United States of America. New York is the financial capital. And that Democrat in one place and the Republican elsewhere, it was the glory days of New York City. And let's hope, you know, President Trump and whoever comes in next, whether it's Eric Adams or Andrew Cuomo, you know, New York sneezes and America catches a cold. I don't say that in an arrogant way, but I say it in a realistic way. So the better New York does, the better this country does. The better this country does, the better the world does.
Well, we're always a little better for having spent a few minutes with the great Arthur Aidala here on the Mike Gallagher Show. Keep fighting the good fight, my friend. Come back and visit with us often, okay?
And sit down, Mike. You're rocking the boat.
You got it. We got to rock the boat together, my friend. We got to rock the boat. Thanks, Arthur. All right, 15 before the hour. It's just an amazing time to be alive. 800-655-MIKE is our number. Do you get annoyed when we give credit where credit is due? Because, frankly, the Democrat mayor, Eric Adams, I think is responsible for a big, big shift in the atmosphere in New York City. We're not doing that enough.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.